Hello and welcome to the channel. This is the CBSE Class 10 English Language and Literature Lesson 1, A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. Lencho. A poor farmer lives in a house on a hill with his family. His crops, which promise a good harvest, are destroyed by a hailstorm, leaving him hopeless. Believing strongly in God, Lencho writes a letter to God asking for 100 pesos to replant his fields and feed his family. He sends the letter through the post office. The postmaster, amused but touched by Lencho's faith, collects money from his employees and friends to help. They manage to send Lencho 70 pesos, signed as God. When Lencho receives the letter, he is not surprised to get a reply from God, but is angry that only 70 pesos were sent. He writes another letter to God asking for the remaining 30 pesos and complaining that post office workers are crooks who stole the money. So Lencho, a hard-working farmer, lived with his family in a small house on a hill in a remote valley. His life depended on his cornfields, which were ready for a good harvest. The fields were full of ripe corn and flowers, promising a bountiful yield. But they needed rain to thrive. Lencho, who knew his fields well, spent the morning watching the sky, hoping for rain. He told his wife, who was cooking dinner, that rain was coming. As predicted, big raindrops began to fall during dinner, and Lencho was overjoyed. He went outside to feel the rain, comparing the big drops to 10-cent coins and smaller ones to 5-cent coins, as they would bring prosperity to his crops. However, the joy was short lived. A strong wind brought a hailstorm with large hailstones falling like silver coins. The storm lasted for an hour, destroying everything: Lencho's cornfields, the garden, and the plants. The fields turned white as if covered with salt, and not a single leaf or flower remained. Lencho and his family were devastated. He stood in the ruined field with his sons, saying that even a plague of locusts would have left more than this. That night, the family was filled with sorrow, believing their hard work was wasted and they would go hungry. Despite the loss, Lencho held on to one hope: help from God. He believed God saw everything, even the deepest thoughts in one's heart. Though a simple farmer who worked like an ox, Lencho could write. The next Sunday, he wrote a letter to God, addressing it simply to God. In the letter, he explained the hailstorm's destruction and asked for 100 pesos to replant his fields and feed his family until the next harvest. He mailed the letter in town, placing a stamp on it with confidence. At the post office, a postman found the letter and showed it to the postmaster, both amused by the unusual address. The postmaster, a kind and friendly man, was moved by Lencho's faith. He decided to help, not wanting to shatter Lencho's belief in God. He collected money from his employees, gave part of his own salary, and asked friends to contribute for this act of charity. However, they could only gather a little over 70 pesos. The postmaster put the money in an envelope with a letter signed simply God and sent it to Lencho. The following Sunday, Lencho arrived at the post office to check for a reply. The postman handed him the letter, and the postmaster watched, pleased with his good deed. Lencho opened the letter and saw the money, showing no surprise because he fully believed God would answer. However, when he counted only 70 pesos, he became angry. He was certain God could not make a mistake or deny his request. Convinced the post office workers had stolen the rest, he wrote another letter to God. In it, he asked for the remaining 30 pesos, insisting that God send it directly and not through the post office, as he called the employees a bunch of crooks. The postmaster, reading this letter, was left stunned by Lencho's unwavering faith and his misunderstanding of the situation. So, the story highlights Lencho's deep faith in God, his innocence, and his inability to see the kindness of the people around him, mistaking their help for theft. Thank you very much.